I'm going live again. I'm gonna keep trying until I blow up the internet. Are you with me? Yes. Are you? Say yes. I'm streaming live. I guess I can't say Foucault. Yeah, I got a couple thumbs up there. Hey, good. Ezra got maybe I shouldn't say your name, but Ezra, thank you. Nadia, thank you. Maureen, great. Yes. I guess I uttered the V word, so I won't do that. I've tried to keep Foucault's name out of this. But remember, I talked about Duran George at UCLA, how he was into mummification, how he auto asphyxiated, right? He was influenced by Foucault, guaranteed. Anything that's in the university called performance studies, that's from Foucault. He was into BDSM, he was into all of that. And I was mentioning earlier, trying to get it out as fast as I can. I mentioned earlier he died in 84 of immunosuppressive problem. It's because he got heavily into the BDSM power exchange scene in San Francisco. He was doing these visiting professorships at the University of California, Berkeley. And Berkeley is right across the bay from Baghdad, across the bay, which is San Francisco. And he would make frequent forays into the whole Dungeons and Dragons scene over there and get into all kinds of crazy, which I won't get whole deeply into. And what I'm trying to have you understand is that living that kind of life cannot but help lead to immunosuppressive problems. This is not me saying this. These are the medical doctors and the literature that I've been reading for ages. There was a person by the name Professor Peter Duesberg at UC Berkeley, by the way, who was one of the first people to dissent from the orthodox explanation of immunosuppressive problems, or AIDS. I'm going to spell it out. And he ostracized because he wasn't part of the agenda any longer. So he was, and Peter Duesberg said the real problem here is immunosuppressive behavior that's going on. Who was practicing immunosuppressive behavior? Well, after the sexual liberation of the 1960s and women's liberation, part and parcel of that was GAY liberation. And one of the epicenters of that was San Francisco. The other one was Los Angeles. And the other one was in New York. Those are the three big areas. And by the way, these are all, you should know, alphabet agency type operations, right? And you know about, without me getting into the specifics, if you've been following George Webb, you know how these different entities go around from place to place and put very nasty, let's call them vectors, all right, out into the population. So that's how that operated. By the way, I gave that talk at the University of Texas in the Lady Bird Johnson room, which was not available to the public. And I really upset the GAY lobby, which was there. And by the way, this is people from film studies, and film studies itself as a discipline, just like literature and history. Almost all the programs now have been colonized by Foucault type talk. So they didn't appreciate my bringing in the true understanding of the Operation Foucault, if you want to call it that. So we had Duran George at UCLA. He killed himself by wrapping himself up in Saran wrap with his power exchange lover down there, and it was chalked up as a experiment gone wrong. You know, it's consensual sex. He was a performance guy. I gave a talk on the gimping of America. That's what the ball gag. That's when I'm making the argument the whole BDSM Foucault structure has been now popularized. And we saw that in the book, 50 Shades of Grey, which is about BDSM, and it was popularized. I couldn't finish reading the book. I tried to watch the movie, couldn't get through it. That's very rare for me, but it was just not because of the content itself. It was just so boring and so vanilla. Ironically, it was boring. Very boring. And then just recently, I talked about Grace Kelly, how she was allegedly a priestess, or was being brought in or perhaps willingly or unwilling, I don't know, but she was being brought in as part of a priestess of a sex cult called the Solar Temple that operated in Belgium. They had an outlet out there in Canada, right? The sex cult ritual. By the way, why doesn't Magnificent Polly talk about the Solar Temple out of Canada, all the great suicides that were that came out of that organization? By great, I mean not wonderful. I mean large numbers, horrific, crazy stuff. All right, so this talk here about Michel Foucault is very much in the vein of what I've been talking about, because there's a whole psychology, there's a whole psyops, to answer my own question, that's in place here that has allowed for the almost total shutdown of American society, its economy, and its culture. It's so comprehensive. And when the Orange Man, I'll call him, because if I mention his name, I might lose the stream here. When he said that he was going to drain the swamp,